If you're building apps in this age and time, cloud hosting most times is not optional for you. It's essential for you to be able to succeed. But choosing the right Azure hosting option, that is where most developers, startups, even large teams get stuck. Should they use an Azure App Service? Should you use a virtual machine? Should you use Kubernetes, static web apps, or go full serverless with functions? So what I'm going to do in today's video is that I'm going to go deep but practical, and I'll walk you through the 6 core Azure hosting services and when to use each one and what they are good at and not too good at even. And I'm going to show you real world scenarios to help you be able to decide if you're serious about building smart in the cloud. This video is for you. So let's kick off with talking about Azure App Service. This is Microsoft's fully managed platform for hosting your web apps, REST APIs, even mobile backends. Yes, people still do that, but they're not just APIs. So you get auto scaling if you choose the right service plan, load balancing, built-in authentication with Azure AD, now called Entra ID, or social logins, custom domains, SSL sats, all the works in between. It also supports the major languages you write today: .NET, Node.js, Java, Python, PHP, even containers if you prefer to use that. It's DevOps friendly too, so you can plug in your GitHub or Azure DevOps for automated deployment. You're not messing around with virtual machines and no patching operating systems. A good example use case here is, say you're launching a SaaS dashboard or a customer facing portal. You need a fast setup, high availability, minimal operations. App Service gets you there fast. The caveat here, however, is that it can fall short when you need low-level control, like operating system tweaks, custom software, or you want to do some custom networking operations. The next one you might consider is Azure Virtual Machines, and this is what we call the build your own environment option. You choose the operating system, install what you want, and you configure everything down to the firewall rules. Supports a huge range of virtual machine sizes from general purpose VMs to GPU accelerated monsters, Windows, Linux, even custom images. It's all there. You get full integration with Azure networking and load balancers, network security groups, VNet, peering, express routes. Everything is enterprise ready for you. A good example of where you might not consider this is if you're migrating a legacy .NET framework application or a custom app that needs background Windows services. App Services cannot help you there. You'll need full control so that the virtual machines are the way you want it to be. The caveat here, however, is that you are responsible for managing the updates, the scaling, the availability, and the patching of that virtual machines or the set of virtual machines you deploy. They're powerful, but comes with more responsibility. It's not the easy button, but it works. Now, let's get serious. Yeah, we've been serious all the way, but let's get a little bit more serious. There is Azure Kubernetes services, and it's that service that is for teams that are deploying containerized applications at scale. Think microservices, distributed system, complex CI/CD pipelines. AKS is a managed Kubernetes environment. Azure takes care of the cluster management, nodes provisioning, upgrades and scaling, and you focus on deploying your service. Of course, you have to do some tweaks in between. It works seamlessly with Elm, GitHubs, Azure Monitor, Entra ID for secure access. External tools like Prometheus and Grafana work even out of the box. Even now, Microsoft has their own managed Prometheus and Grafana service. A good example of this is your product, for example, your e-commerce app, your business line of business applications. They are made up of 2, 3, 4, 10 microservices, 1,500 microservices even, all containerized with separate teams, maybe if the same team even, depending on the size of your team, owning their own deployments. You will need to be able to do predictive scaling, blue-green rollouts, circuit management, and automated health checks. AKS will help you undo that, given that you configure it right. The caveat here is that Kubernetes has a learning curve. If you're not ready for it, you'll burn time, energy, and budget. AKS simplifies things, but still it's Kubernetes. You need to learn. Now, if you want to go serverless, you don't want any servers. Well, technically there are servers in between there. You want to enter the world of Azure Functions, Microsoft's own serverless compute platform. You write your code, and that responds to events like HTTP requests, database changes, message queues, timers. Azure handles everything else, from scaling to uptime to infrastructure provisioning. Microsoft Azure handles all that for you. All you have to focus on is writing your own code in languages like C#, JavaScript, Python, PowerShell, and way more than you can even think. You only pay for when your function runs. So this makes it ideal for busty workloads. BURSTY, I mean. A good example use case for this is you're processing IoT telemetry, you're running scheduled cleanups, you're handling webhook callbacks from Stripe or GitHub. Azure Functions nails those use cases right out of the park. But the cold truth is here. Cold starts are real, especially for high latency languages like .NET. Long-running tasks that have complex dependencies might push you a little bit towards AKS or virtual machines instead. Now, if you're building single-page applications, PaaS, static frontends with Jamstack, Azure Static Web App is the laser-focused solution for you to consider. Don't even go Kubernetes, don't go Azure Functions, don't go Azure Web Apps. Azure Static Web Apps is the answer for you. Connect your GitHub repo, push your code, and it's deployed globally with Azure CDN. Azure Functions serve as the backend for it, yes, but you don't have to worry about even provisioning that for yourself. It's tightly integrated, you get built-in authentication, staging environments, and instant SSL certificates. It's perfect for languages/frameworks/tools like React, Angular, Vue, Svelte, anything static or semi-static. An example use case is your startup's landing page, a blog site that you have, a front-end client dashboard, anything that benefits from fast load times and minimal backend operations. But backend logic is limited to functions. For anything more complex or multi-region like database interactions, you will hit your limits super fast. Alright, let's not forget the data layer of everything. With every application that runs the cloud, we need somewhere to store. Azure SQL Database is Microsoft's own fully managed relational database as a service built on SQL Server. You get elastic scaling, automatic backups, built-in availability, active geo-replication, well, if you pick the right pricing tier, and AI-powered query optimization, all without managing one single virtual machine. Supports are secure. It's also highly secure, rather. It supports TD, virtual network, service endpoints, Azure Defender for SQL. So it supports things like your web applications, your ERP system, financial platforms, anything where transactional integrity and asset compliance matter. The caveat is you cannot touch the operating system or the SQL Server config like you can if you have a self-hosted VM or a SQL virtual machine. And if you need cross-database joins across servers, there are some limitations you need to watch out for. The summary here is this. If you're doing web apps, APIs, quick CI/CD setup, Azure App Service. If you're doing legacy app migration and you need full control, Azure Virtual Machines. If you're going microservices, container-first architecture, AKS is your answer. Azure Functions shines if you need event-driven logic and minimal operations. And if you're writing sparse, Jamstack, static frontends, Azure Static Web Apps. And if you need managed relational databases, Azure SQL Database is your answer. Your tech stack, team skill level, and scaling needs should drive your decision, not the hype, not the market buzz. Start simple and scale when you need to. If you found this breakdown helpful, smash that like button so YouTube shows this to more developers like you, and subscribe if you want real actionable content on code, cloud, DevOps, software architecture without all the buzz. And if you've tried any of these Azure services yourself and you have questions, drop them in the comments. I always reply, even if it takes me 2 months. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.